Why do hands and feet turn cold before death? I've been a hospice nurse for many years. I've sat at more bedsides than I can count. I've held hands during final breaths. I've watched families try to memorize the sound of a loved one's breathing. And one of the most common questions I hear, often whispered, sometimes frightened, is this: why are their hands so cold? It's one of the earliest physical signs families notice when someone is nearing the end of life. The hands and feet feel cool, then colder, sometimes pale, sometimes bluish or mottled, and it can be alarming if you don't understand what's happening. So today I want to explain it clearly, gently, and truthfully, both medically and from the human side of the bedside. First, let's talk about what the body is doing. As a person approaches death, the body begins a natural process of shutting down. This is not sudden. It's gradual. It's systematic. The body prioritizes survival of vital organs for as long as it can. The heart, the brain, the lungs. To do that, it makes adjustments. One of those adjustments is called peripheral shutdown. Peripheral refers to the outer parts of the body, the hands, feet, fingers, toes, arms, and legs. These areas are farthest from the heart. When circulation begins to slow, the body directs blood flow toward the core to preserve oxygen for the essential organs. Think of it like a house losing power and redirecting electricity to the most important rooms. The living room lights go out first. The kitchen dims, but the furnace and refrigerator stay running as long as possible. The same thing happens in the human body. Blood vessels in the extremities begin to constrict. This is called vasoconstriction. When blood vessels narrow, less warm blood reaches the hands and feet. Without that warm circulating blood, the skin cools. It's not because the person is freezing. It's not because they need another blanket, although we often add one for comfort. It's because the heart simply isn't pumping with the same strength anymore. The heart weakens gradually in the final days or hours. Blood pressure drops. Circulation slows. And when circulation slows, temperature drops in the extremities first. This cooling can happen hours before death, sometimes even a day or two before. Often families notice it during the final 24 hours. The hands may feel cool but soft. Later they may become colder and slightly mottled, meaning you'll see purplish or blotchy patterns on the skin. That mottling happens because blood is pooling unevenly in the small vessels near the surface. It can look alarming, but medically it's expected. And here's something important. Cold hands do not usually mean discomfort. In most cases, the person is not aware of the temperature change in the same way we would be. As the body shuts down, awareness decreases. Energy decreases. The brain is receiving less oxygen. Sensation dulls. I've had families rub their loved ones' hands, worried they're suffering from the cold, and I always tell them, keep holding their hand. Not because they're freezing, but because human touch still matters. Even when circulation slows, even when eyes no longer open, even when words are gone, the body may be shutting down, but connection is still powerful. Now that we've talked about peripheral shutdown in simple terms, I want to go a little deeper medically, because understanding the physiology can actually bring comfort. As death approaches, the body is no longer trying to heal. It is no longer trying to recover. It shifts from a restorative mode into a conservation mode. The heart plays a central role in this transition. In the final days or hours of life, cardiac output decreases. That means the amount of blood the heart pumps with each beat is reduced. The heart muscle weakens. Beats may become irregular. Blood pressure begins to fall. When blood pressure drops, the body has to make a choice. Where should the remaining oxygenated blood go? The answer is simple. To the organs most necessary for immediate survival. The brain, the heart itself, the lungs. To preserve those organs, the autonomic nervous system triggers vasoconstriction, tightening the blood vessels in the extremities. This is not something the person consciously controls. It's an automatic survival reflex. When vessels constrict in the arms, legs, hands, and feet, less blood flows there. Less blood means less warmth. Blood is what carries heat throughout the body. Without steady circulation, temperature drops quickly in those outer areas. This is why you may notice cool fingers and toes, pale or bluish nail beds, mottling along the feet, knees, or hands, skin that feels thin or fragile. Another factor is oxygen levels. As breathing becomes irregular, what we often call Cheney-Stokes respirations. Oxygen intake decreases. With lower oxygen levels, tissues in the extremities are even less prioritized. The body is conserving every bit of oxygen it can. There's also metabolic slowing. The body's metabolism, the chemical process that generates energy and heat, decreases significantly near death. A dying body simply doesn't produce as much internal heat as it once did. That internal furnace is winding down. So now we have 3 things happening at once. 1. Decreased cardiac output. 2. Peripheral vasoconstriction. 3. Lower metabolic heat production. The result? Cold hands and feet. It is not sudden. It is progressive. Sometimes families will say, "But the room is warm." Yes, the room can be warm. The blankets can be thick. But if circulation is failing, external warmth can only do so much. You can warm the surface slightly, but you cannot override the body's internal redirection of blood flow. And this is important to say clearly. Cold extremities are a sign of the body conserving energy, not a sign of suffering. In hospice, we focus on comfort. If a patient appears restless or uncomfortable, we treat that. But the coldness itself is a physiological shift, not typically a painful one. In fact, many patients at this stage are sleeping more. They're less responsive. The brain is gradually disengaging. The sensory perception of temperature often fades. I've had families panic when they feel that first cold hand. They think this is it. Sometimes it is close. Sometimes it's still hours away, but it is part of the natural process. The body is doing what bodies have done since the beginning of humanity, completing its cycle. Of all the physical signs of dying, cold hands and feet are often the ones families remember most. There's something deeply human about holding someone's hand. It's one of the first ways we bond in life, and often one of the last ways we say goodbye. So when that hand feels cold, it can feel symbolic. It can feel like the person is already slipping away. I've seen the worry in people's faces. Are they in pain? Are they suffering? Should we do something? And this is where reassurance matters. Cold extremities are not typically a sign of pain. They are a sign that circulation is slowing. The body is pulling inward. It is conserving what little energy remains. I often tell families this. The body knows how to die. Just as the body knew how to grow, how to heal from a broken bone, how to fight infections, it also knows how to complete life. There is a quiet intelligence in the shutting down process. As circulation centralizes, the hands and feet cool first, then the arms and legs. Breathing becomes irregular. There may be longer pauses between breaths. The person may no longer respond to voice or touch in the way they once did. But here is something important. Hearing is believed to be one of the last senses to fade. Even when someone's hands are cold, even when their eyes remain closed, even when they haven't spoken in hours, they may still hear you. That's why I always encourage families. Keep talking. Keep holding their hand. Keep loving them out loud. Not because you can stop the process, but because comfort is not just physical. It's emotional and spiritual. Sometimes families try to warm the hands with blankets, heating pads, or warm cloths. And that's okay if it brings comfort to you. But understand, you are not reversing anything. You are offering tenderness, and that matters. Another thing I gently prepare families for is mottling. Those purplish, blotchy patterns that may move up the legs or arms. This happens because blood is pooling as circulation slows further. Gravity plays a role. The heart simply isn't pushing blood evenly anymore. Mottling, combined with cool skin, often tells us death is likely hours away, sometimes less. But here's the truth. I've learned after sitting with so many people in their final moments, the body grows quieter, the breathing softens, the pauses lengthen, and then gently, it stops. There is rarely drama in hospice death. It is usually peaceful, gradual, almost sacred in its stillness. Cold hands are not the enemy. They are a messenger. They tell us the body is preparing. They tell us energy is withdrawing. They tell us the journey is nearing completion. And when families ask me, what should we do now? My answer is always the same. Be present. You don't have to fix anything. You don't have to stop what's coming. You don't have to warm what the body is naturally cooling. Just sit. Hold their hand, even if it's cold. Speak gently. Love fully. Because at the end of life, warmth doesn't come from circulation. It comes from connection. And that is something that never cools.